All right, welcome back. So now we are ready to do our first project. So we've practiced all the basic stitches and now we're going to practice making things from them. So today we will practice single crochet and chaining. So that creates what is known as the moss stitch or linen stitch. You single crochet, chain one, single crochet, chain one over and over again until you get the length you want, and then create as many rows until you get the size project you want. So we're going to work on a washcloth today, and we're going to use this. I chose a holiday colorway yarn, and it's a cotton yarn. So for washcloths and dishcloths, you want to use a natural fabric. It will absorb water well to clean up, and also with being in the kitchen, if you have any hot pans or even hot water, acrylic can melt. And so you want to stick with the natural fibers. This is a medium weight yarn, and they recommend a 5mm crochet hook, and it shows your gauge swatch. But I have this 5mm hook, so I've already been playing with this yarn a little bit, and this is an inline hook, and I've found that this catches, it holds on too tightly to the cotton. You need this cotton to slide. I tried it with both these taper hooks, including this prim plastic hook, which I typically don't like with my acrylic yarns, but it actually works better than this inline aluminum hook. So I would use either a plastic hook, or really I would just use a tapered hook rather than an inline hook. So this is a tapered hook. Both of these are tapered hooks. And so this is a 3.75mm, this is a 4.5, and this is a 5mm. I've already played around with this yarn a little, and I found that my stitches are a lot looser on the cotton yarn. So I think I'm okay sizing down. So I think I will try it with this plastic hook and kind of see what happens. And if not, I can always go to this 3.75 tapered hook. But I'm at least going to chain with this larger hook, which is 4.5. Going from a 5 sizing down to 4.5 is fine. Again, with a washcloth, you want it to absorb things, so you want the stitches to be a little tighter and not too gappy. So let's go ahead and unravel some yarn. I already tried to pull from the middle and couldn't, so it just kind of naturally unraveled from this outside. So let's do our slip knot. And then we're going to chain out about 25. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you want a different length, feel free to do so. Just make sure it's an odd number. So that's 25. So I'm just gonna kind of measure that against a tape measure. And we get about 7.5. So I might do a few more inches. A few more slip stitch chains. Washcloth is about 8 by 8 inches, so I just want to get around about over there. So this is 27, and I think that is good. 27. So now another thing we're going to practice is we're going to do our first row into these back humps. Let me get you closer to show you. So in all our practicing, we've practiced this top loop only. But oftentimes when you want to get that clean edge so that your edge shows this chain, you work into these back humps. So we're going to practice that. And normally when you work into the chain, we have been working into the second chain from the hook. With the linen stitch, again, it's a single crochet, chain one, single crochet. So we are essentially starting with our chain one. And so just imagine that chain one would be going over that second loop. So our first single crochet will go into the third loop from the hook. And then we flip this over and it would be that hump. Hard to see on the white, but you can see 1, 2, 3, and you'll go into that hump to do your first single crochet. And you're just going to have to go slowly, especially when you do back humps, to kind of guide your loop. And then you do a chain one. So we're chaining one, which means we skip the next hump and we go to that next one for the next single crochet. And then you chain one, skip that next hump and go to the next one for your next single crochet. And make sure you get through all these little strings of the yarn. So this project will help you practice doing this, working with a colorway yarn and kind of seeing how that works, working with a cotton yarn, and then practicing your single crochet and chain one. So you can see how that we started with a chain one, then we did the single crochet, then a chain one, single crochet, chain one, single crochet. And so again, we're going to chain one. We're going to skip that next hump and go into this one and do a single crochet. Chain one, skip the next hump and go into that one. Chain one, skip the next hump and go to this one. That next hump, go into this one. Chain one. I'm just going to continue that to, and I'll meet you at the last 3 chains. You can see we have these 3 humps left, 4 humps left here. is 1, 2, 3, 4. So single crochet here, so I'm going to skip this one, and then my last 2 stitches will go into these last 2 humps. So I've already chained 1. I'll go in here. I'm going to use my nail to guide on the yarn. So single crochet, chain 1, and then our last single crochet. Making sure I'm going in the right space. And most of the time I'm holding my crochet hook back here just to make the stitches a little looser, especially since I've sized down in my hook. Okay, so at the end of your row, so as you can see, when we went from our starting chain to do this row, we did an extra, we basically left an extra chain because we went into the 3rd loop. So here, normally with a single crochet, you might chain 1, or not chain at all, but usually you chain 1. So for this, we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, because again, we're starting with a chain. So over this single crochet that we made would be a chain, and then we're going to single crochet into this first space. And then chain 1 and single crochet into the next chain space. Chain 1. So now it becomes simpler because you're just crocheting into spaces rather than stitches, so it'll go faster. You don't have to try to work the hook in between yarn. So just continue doing that. Single crochet into the chain space, chain 1, single crochet into the next space, chain 1, single crochet into the next space, chain 1, and you keep going till we're at the end. And then I'm going to find that last one. So that was our starting. I should have marked it, but I didn't. But really, when we started, I'm going to undo this one so you can see. So when we started, remember we went into the 3rd loop from the hook, and that was there. And so our chain 1 was there. So This is our chain space. Single crochet, chain 1, and then this is our single crochet space, and this is our chain 1 space. So we end with this single crochet, and then chain 2, turn, and again you just start working into, so this is this first single crochet that you're going to skip because you're starting with a chain, and then do your single crochet into that first chain space, chain 1, single crochet into the next chain space right there, chain 1, single crochet into the next chain space, one, and keep doing that until you reach the number of rows you want for your washcloth. You can make a dish towel, a dish cloth, whatever you call it, however big you want it. And I'm just going to keep working on this and meet you at the end, and we'll work on our border. So I'm going to work until I'm at 8 inches by 8 inches, or, you know, a square, whatever you get to. You can always make up for some of that length with a border, and so it doesn't have to be a perfect amount. And again, this is just a washcloth, so it's mostly just to practice. All right, I'll see you back here. All right, so I'm back with my completed square. So after chaining and actually doing a few rows, I could see this was about 6¼ inches wide, maybe 6½, and currently I am at 6, so I thought I would do this last row with you guys. So I've chained 1 here, or chain 2 rather, and I'm just going to continue on this row. So again, your chain is above that first stitch. You're looking for that first space and going in there, going through, yarn over, single crochet, chain 1, find the next space, it's right there, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, single crochet, chain 1, find the next space, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, single crochet, chain 1, find the next space, 1, next space, one, next space. You can see it's a lot easier working into spaces. And so normally, if you're working into the single crochet, you would be working in the stitch. We're just working in the spaces between the previous stitches. And this front hook actually turned out really well. I previously said I hated them because I had only been using acrylic yarn, but it actually helped me out with this cotton yarn. Okay, we're at the last space, and really just get your hook into something. And then let's measure this out. All right, this is at about 6¼ So I think I need another row. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll meet back to do the border. Okay, so I have done, let's just count this out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 rows. And then remember, we were 26 across. We had chain 27, so we have 26, including, so you can see the single crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then the chains beside it. So I think I'm just going to continue the border from here. I was thinking we could just practice slip stitching and just do a simple slip stitch border, and that way you can just see what that looks like, because a lot of times slip stitch patterns will tell you to slip stitch around a border to kind of give you that clean edge to put an actual other stitches on top of it. So this is my last single crochet right here that I did, and I'm going to chain 1, turn, and then I'm just going to slip stitch into every stitch across. So that includes that first single crochet. So not the space. So not just the space, but the actual, get this hook out, the actual first stitch, we're going to go in there. And we're going to slip stitch. So you pull this out. When you slip stitch, you pull through that first loop as well. Okay, let's do that again. We'll go through now the chain space, pull through, and then pull through again through here. So again, use your little technique of going downwards and up. It's hard on this white one. Once we get to a darker color, we can see better. So now we're going to go through that single crochet. You can see that V, pull up a loop. So yarn over, pull up a loop. And now we pull up again through that loop. Go through the chain space, pull up a loop, and pull through, pull that through that last loop. Go through that single crochet. You see that V, pull through, and pull through again. Through the chain space, pull through. Try not to make it too tight. And pull through again. So I'm just going to do that to the end, and I'll meet you on the last few stitches. Okay, I've worked until here, and let's just finish up this slip stitch row. I'm trying to get into all these little loops of this cotton yarn. So we'll go into this space. Stitch through into the single crochet, slip stitch, space, slip stitch, single crochet, slip stitch, and space. I think so. Now you know if you worked into the back hump of the chain, you'll see that that end now matches this end, and I think it looks fine like this. You don't need any other border because this is pretty clean border. And so at this point, you can just pull this through. Cut the yarn. And I usually pull it through that loop again, and that just secures it. And then I'll show you how to weave in your ends. Let me get a tapestry needle real quick. Okay, I'm back with my tapestry needles. I just choose any. The biggest one will be the most comfortable to work with, so you just thread that through. Again, we've tied off that knot. I've never had a knot come undone, but you can go ahead and weave in the ends. So usually this, again, is double-sided, so there is no back or front. And because it's colorway, you might see some of this through, but you just go, I just kind of work it through some stitches one way. And again, you're going to see it no matter what. Work it through under some of these to secure it. And this, considering this cotton yarn feels like kind of like a jute thread, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. And then you just go in, you know, another direction, and then you can work yourself back this way. And you can go in a square if you want, or you can just keep going in different directions. You can even cut it off at this point. But it'll be hidden amongst all this red. And then I usually use my smallest hook and work it through the ends. The last bit. and then you can cut. Once it frays like that, I cut it. And you have your little washcloth. Feels like it's going to be a good washcloth. And so you can practice different stitches. You know, you should have enough yarn to do another washcloth. If you want to do a different stitch or practice gauge swatching, and then just use your little gauge swatches for washcloths. We need to weave in this end. Oops, that frayed majorly. So again, same deal. Little bit. Just cut that. Again, putting knots, I've never had anything go anywhere, and I've had crochet projects for decades already, and none of them have come apart. There you go. How nice this looks. And I like how the colorway was, you know, random enough that you see all the colors in a line, because sometimes they can pool together and bunch up, and you don't always want that to happen. So I think this looks kind of nice, kind of like a little plaid sweater. All right, I hope you enjoyed this pattern. Next, we're going to practice a pattern with the other stitches. So we'll do a half double crochet pattern, just using half double crochet, and then we'll do a double crochet project. Thank you for watching.